Claire Lienema, and she's here to discuss some holiday decorating, and of course to remind you too that the big horticultural, how's that, horticultural show, the big horticultural show is going to be on this weekend, and maybe you can tell us about that, then we'll go to our decorating.
Okay, we'll start with that one. It is on Sunday afternoon. Competitors will be putting in all their entries of various things similar to what you're seeing here now into the competition in the morning, and then the general public is allowed to come in at 1:15. We have coffee and goodies and craft sale and jams, jellies, and all that kind of stuff, and a chance to come and see the crafts, and then our meeting begins at 2.
And where's that going to be?
At the CNIB.
Okay.
That's on the corner of York and Regent Street. And
so that's going to be a wonderful weekend. Now, you've brought us some greenery from outside, and you're going to show us how to gather it and collect it.
Yes, that's one of the most important things. Being a horticulturalist and in competition at the show, everything must be at least 75% natural products. In other words, either fresh or dried. And one of the best ways of doing it is going out into the bush and bringing home your pine. Mind you, I delegate most of it to my sons now. But however, the pine is one of the nicest ones of all. This happens to be a red pine. White pine is also available. White pine actually has slightly longer needles. But it is very beautiful, and it's got a natural arch to it so that it lends itself to making any kind of wreaths, swags, or whatever. Then one that I like very, very much, and that's cedar, and it's very plentiful. We've got cedar all over the place. Because I like cedar because it has this special adaptability that it will lie flat, and it's beautiful for something that's going to be hanging against the wall. Then, of course, there are junipers, which is also very nice, and there's spruce. I brought along a little gadgetry here on how to make your own tiny little spruce tree in the house without cutting down a whole tree. Now, the one thing I want to make clear to everybody is that when you do go out gathering, you don't want to destroy the trees. We're here for our environment. When you're taking a look at the tree and you see that there's a pine tree, treat it as if it were your own, prune it naturally, just take a branch off of this one and a branch off of that one, and then you're not going to destroy the whole tree. When you bring them home, you can't very well start using them in decoration right away. They have to be conditioned. Either use the laundry tub, a 5-gallon pail full of water, anything. But they should be plunged right into water for at least 24 hours and better 48 hours.
What's the purpose of doing that?
That's to get them to absorb as much moisture in them as possible. That way they will last that much longer, because you're going to be taking them out of the water. It's not like a fresh flower. Like a rose, for example, it must be continually in water, or in 20 seconds or 20 minutes it's going to wilt down to nothing. If your greenery is properly conditioned and has a lot of moisture in it, it'll last you a good 2 to 3 weeks.
Very good. And do you put anything in the water, or just the water itself?
The water itself. So it's usually very easy to handle. Now that handles pretty well the gathering of that type, although I also want to include, don't forget, there are multitudes of these laying around everywhere in the forest. And pine cones lend themselves beautifully to any kind of decoration.
And it's not too late because the snow's gone. If you get out there this weekend, you'll still find some.
You might find that they might be a bit dampish, so then put them in a very low oven for a couple of hours to kind of dry them out a little bit. That's the only criteria that you would need to do with those.
Could I ask you what kind of one this is?
That has to come from a ponderosa pine. It's a very small one. I have seen others that are gigantic in size. But we don't get them around here too frequently, but they're very beautiful. And then don't forget the spruce trees. They're an evergreen. It looks like they're not pine, but they do have little cones as well, and they are also sweet to do on small arrangements. Next, when you go shopping, because there are natural products out there that you can get, cinnamon sticks, although you can't get them all the time, but they're usually available at any bulk food outlet. Oranges and apples. Now, these were done in I explained to you those.
Just a drying oven.
Yeah. Well,
same thing you make the same thing you make beef jerky with.
Yeah. And they got little trays in them, and you put your trays of oranges.
But they really
apples.
do sparkle. I know, like on TV, you think it's the lights, and they look like real orange. under the TV lights. But you've dried those?
I dried them first.
And then sprayed them?
And then sprayed them with just a plain ordinary acrylic spray is all that's needed. Now in this particular instance, what I've done is I've rolled them and glue gunned them together here and just put a little bit of a berry inside so that it's got a flower effect.
And I love these apples, and I don't know if the color will show up, but instead of, you started out with like a red, delicious apple, but the colors have turned purple. There's one there, and I don't know if we get the same color, but it's absolutely gorgeous. I'll set it right in the middle there where you can see it.
Like I said, there's a lot of people who prefer to have their apple slices flat, but they are very difficult to dry perfectly flat. And then especially when you spray them, then they tend to curl a little bit anyways. But I kind of like them curly like that. I think they're a little more natural looking.
Now, most of the things that you have here have been either glued together or just taped together. There isn't anything, you know, that takes too much skill other than a bit of creativity and visual sense.
That's basically all it is. I'll start with this one here. This is designed for an end table, and it is basically underneath is a styrofoam cone that you can buy at any of the Leisure World or any of those kind of craft places. I have my own garden, so therefore I dry a lot of the material. This little one here, where the camera can see it, this is a globe thistle. There's German status. There's ordinary status, the colorful kind. Bits of grasses, a little bit of club moss that I put in there. And it's just basically take the glue gun, which I would never, ever do without. That's the greatest gift my son ever bought me. And just a little dab of glue on the end and stick it onto the cone and all the way around, and it makes a beautiful arrangement. And I just added a few little porcelain bells to make.
I guess the best thing to do is just try it, eh?
Mm-hmm. It's very simple to do. This one here is designed as a table centerpiece, and what it is, I've just taken the basket. I have a potted poinsettia in there. I stuck a few bits of the asparagus grass into the pot itself. Mm-hmm. Then you get that from you can get that from the florist. Now, of course, glads are not available in the garden right now, so you have to get those from the florist. But they are put into little vases of water on the side, and then trained with a bit of florist tape to go up on the handle.
So instead of just a straightforward poinsettia plant, you've been able to decorate the whole basket.
Mm-hmm. And then a few little bows strategically put here and there to cover the tape, and it makes a beautiful centerpiece.
Do you have any hints about glue gunning?
No, not really, because it's very simple. You just plug it in and let her go. I happen to have I prefer to use the longer sticks, because otherwise you're running out very quickly if you're doing a lot of gluing. But it's just be very careful not to burn yourself. But everything glues very well. I was surprised even when I did the oranges that they glue as well as they do. Now this one in particular I was going to show, because all this is a little broom that was picked up at a craft store. I took a little bit of cedar, which is flat on there, and then a bit of plastic glitter, and wired this part on. Now what I intend to do with that is just to take a few of these little orange and a few of the apple slices in here and sit them all in. Once I've got them placed, then I will glue gun them on into place and then fasten a bit of ribbon on here. And won't that look lovely sitting on, hanging in your wall in your kitchen, either over the table or perhaps on one of the cupboard doors?
Well, Claire, that's absolutely gorgeous. And I can see where, you know, it was just kind of straightforward, and if you just a little bit of creativity, and any of the craft shops, I'm sure will give you information and help you out. Once again, Claire, as our time draws to an end, could you tell us again, please, about the show this weekend?
Okay, now this is our fun event of the year. We all enjoy making all these kinds of crafts. As you can see, there's the various ones up here that I've done. And we enter those as members, as competitors, but the public is invited to come and take a look at it. We have coffee and goodies ready for them when they come, Christmas-type goodies, and everyone is welcome.
And that's Sunday afternoon at the CNIB. We're going to be right back with more Morning Break. Don't you dare go away. Talk about Victorian decorating. Now, can you help me understand what is typically Victorian about the decorating?
Yes, I think I can. Back then in those days, an awful lot of it was left up to the ingenuity of the various people. You couldn't very well go out to Woolworths and buy up all kinds of artificial type things, so you had to rely on what was available to you naturally. Mind you, there was a lot of glint and glitter as well that they added to it. But the traditional red and green and white did not come in until quite a bit later. They were multicolored, but the primary colors were deep roses and purple and a lot of gold and silver.
So in a true Victorian decorated home, we would really see very little of the bold red and green that we associate so much with Christmas.
Okay. That's right. They developed all kinds of different things. This one here in particular is a topiary, a small size one that could sit on an end table. What it is a styrofoam ball, and it's stuck all over with some German status, a bit of heather, and then a few silk roses on it. And it is made in a permanent kind of style that you can actually keep it for quite a bit longer. Don't forget that back then, too, the British people always wanted to have everything stayed in their house until Whitsunday, until Little Christmas.
All right. Okay.
And you didn't throw it out the day after like they do today in some cases. I brought this along because I wanted to show people this is my oldest ornament that I have at home. Talk about traditions. We got them. This was the star on the top of my tree about 60 years ago. And
of course, you weren't around to see it then, Claire.
Oh, yes, I was. And people today, the young people, are not aware of the tinsel that was used then.
Yeah.
This is actually made from tin foil, and this is the real McCoy. Fortunately, I was prudent enough to pack some of it away in tissue paper, and I can refurbish the little wreath from time to time. Another thing that was very popular in those days were kissing bells. Now, every lady worth her salt did an awful lot of needlework, and these are embroidery hoops, embellished with a few bows and glass balls. And what I usually do is try and get some fresh mistletoe to add to it. Mind you, mistletoe is getting very difficult to find.
But we can still kiss under the kissing ball without the mistletoe.
Well, I was going to say that Siberians could substitute maybe the snowberry, which is indigenous to our area. Another thing that they got into an awful lot of is potpourri, because everybody had a garden and they dried their plants. Now this is a little gazebo made out of plastic canvas and embroidered, and then it contains a little package of potpourri in there.
Now, do you make your own potpourri in your dryer? I thought so, because I know you have a dryer, so I thought, I bet you make your own instead of buying it.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do, and it's very, very lovely. My mother used to do it too, so I use her recipe. Another thing that the Victorian people used an awful lot of, because they were so handy with needlework, is laces. Now, if anybody here has in the cupboard an old dresser scarf, for example, that the material part of the foundation part has deteriorated, but the lace is still good around the edges. Take the material part off, save the edges. Now this is a particular wreath that I made. It starts off with a plain straw wreath with some Spanish moss, and then I have the outline of the wreath made with the lace, embellished with a few roses.
And you just let the lace fall over. You just drape the lace over itself and put some roses.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And that becomes a traditional thing that can be kept in the house. I mean, even if your piece of lace at home is only maybe 5 years old, stop and think. When your children's children are old enough and it's still kicking around, it's going to be worth a lot of money.
Beautiful traditions.
Now, one that I made this morning, and I want to show people how easy it is, because I made this when I came into the studio, is an outdoor wreath. And what it is just a wire hoop. And the only part I did ahead of time was to spray the styrofoam ring with gold. Then I glue gunned, my trusty glue gun, some cedar around the edge, some almonds were glued on, a few walnuts, and I put in a couple of nesting partridge in there. The only thing left is perhaps a waterproof bow and some bells or something of that nature, and hang it up outside.
And you were able to do that in the hour or so that we...
Half an hour.
Half an hour that you were here, yeah. Excellent.
So there's, You know, it's so easy to do. I wish people
Well, I'm
would do it.
impressed with it because I would have normally not even tackled anything like that. And I'm looking at this and thinking, that's really not that difficult to do.
No, it isn't.
It's beautiful.
So people should give it a try.
You have one more beautiful one over here. Can we pick this up?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
This is
It's not going to come apart, eh?
fortunate. No, it won't fall apart.
Okay.
Well wired. I was very fortunate to obtain a wreath. This is made of beech twigs. Now, maybe if I turned it around to the back, you'd have a better idea of what it is. It's twigs all gathered together and wired to form a wreath. And these
Now,
are the
did you
tips.
have to make those?
No,
Or you
that
buy
bought
the
it-
beech already done like
I
that?
bought it this
Okay.
way. A person could do it if they wanted to. Probably birch would do, but beech is much more twiggy, and it gives an effect like
So
this.
that part is bought, but then now you fix the
then
rest on here.
The rest of it here is little nosegays of gypsophilia and a dried rose here and there, a few other little dried flowers, and a little angel or a Victorian doll of some kind, and then a glittery bow.
This is such a very pretty alternative to the strong reds and greens if someone was looking to decorate just a little bit differently.
Well, I think so. An awful lot of people are going, I don't know whether it's for economic reasons or just a latent desire to go back to the old traditional ways. And a lot of people are decorating their homes in that manner now, softer colors, more colonial or Victorian style of furnishings and so on. And these lend themselves very well to that kind of a decor.
Very nice. And you could very easily match up your table settings, again, using the more pastel shades and colors. And any one of these.
Could.
I think probably today I am most impressed with this one that you made there because it just is so simple. This could be a family project, couldn't it, Claire?
It certainly
the kids could
could.
glue these on, and
Very
you could do it.
easily
And
to
like you
do.
said, you've done it in half an hour with your expertise.
The
but
only thing is to
family
do
could
it with
in an evening.
under supervision because glue guns do tend to get very, very hot. But another alternative too is without the birds sitting that way, you could lay it flat on the table and use it as a ring surrounding your punch bowl.